Hello, this is Leslie and Leslie's LMcLeishArt, and today I want to, well, I've been seeing a lot of pumpkins out and Halloween stuff and sort of getting ready for the season, and so I thought I would show you a couple of little watercolor pumpkins. So just a quick sketch, and if you want to, there, I just threw my pencil on the floor. Oh shoot, there it is. If you want to follow along, all I'm using is just a very small piece of paper. So what's that, about maybe 5 by 4.5 by 5, something like that, just a little short guy. So pumpkin shapes are generally round. So, and I'm just penciling them in because I like pencil marks. They don't bother me on watercolor, and you can always erase a lot of them. So, and then I thought I would do a tall pumpkin at the back. So these are just the general shapes. And then what we'll do is we'll do maybe some line work with them, try them and see what we think. Now, pumpkins have these wonderful shapes to them, and you can add just little knobbies there. Just keeping with the general shape of your pumpkin. We'll make that one a bigger one. And then his little stem will come up. And don't worry about being too precise, okay? Because we're going to paint over this, and then we'll be doing some line work on it afterwards. So there's the pumpkin. There's his little stem sticking up. So I made one of these tall pumpkins. I got seeds. It was called a heritage pumpkin, whatever that means. But it was tall, and it was so sweet. It was the best pumpkin I've had in a long time. But we're going to paint him, instead of the yellow that this guy was, we're going to paint him a different color, maybe in a teal or a blue. That's what I've decided I would do out. So, and then we'll add some loose leaves in a few other places. This guy got a little fat on one side, but that's okay. Okay, so now I've got my pumpkin sketched out. The things that I use for lining is called pigment liners. They're sketch pens. They're by Stadler. I really like these ones. I find that they are hardier. They come in a good variety of sizes in this pack. It's a 01, 03, 05, and 07. I use the 5 and 3 almost exclusively, but I do like the 01 for some really fine line stuff. So I'll just show you what we'll do with some of this. It's kind of a line wash we're going to try today. So you're going to take and you're going to just do a little tracing. See why it didn't really matter about the... And don't worry if it's not perfect. That's good. It makes it a nice generic look instead of just like it's a plastic pumpkin from Walmart. I could have used the thicker line. I could have used the 5 with this one, but I didn't. And if you want to make your pumpkins bigger with more little individual things, you can do that too. This is just a you do you and I'll do me. Now that's just the general outline. So with a number 3 or number one, you can take and you can add some really fine lines in. These guys they often twist. And it makes you add a few lines in and it just changes the look. It just gives it a nice twist. And this guy, he's just in here. And we can even add some lines in there. This is getting a little carried away, but if you want to make some shadow lines, you can. So now I've got that outlined. Grab my eraser. So do many of you sketch? I love it. I love to sit in the evening watching TV and I'll do some sketching. These are like a kneaded eraser. I love them. They won't smear your painting. They won't rub on these lines, rub the lines out, but it gives you a nice, a nice look. Okay, so now I want to show you, this is a very loose, we're just going to wet them down. I'm going to do the one in the back first, and I'm just basically going to wet all of them. I put a fair amount of water on, and I'm not worried if there's spaces. Don't worry about spaces, because that adds, we just add some color in. I love watching the water move. So this, I mixed up, what did I mix up? I can't look right now. Oh, I like that. That is very pretty. One of the things I also use is I use a grubby old sponge, and it's great for, you got too much water on your brush, dabbing it off. It's also good for wiping off some of the color before you rinse your brush for something else, or drying it off afterwards. So this teal that I mixed was an ultramarine blue, and I cannot read. I use M. paints, and I usually have it written on here. Darn, can't remember. Oh well, that was the one. So I think afterwards, once this got a lot of water in, but I'm going to put a little bit of the straight ultramarine blue in, just kind of make it add some lines and colors in these shadowy parts. Now, I don't want to get too much water into this one, but normally I would dry it, but instead I'm going to just add some of my color in here. And again, I'm not too worried about filling in every single hole. And this is Hansa yellow, a mix of Hansa yellow and quinacridone red. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous orange. Just love that color. Not as much in here. There we go. I didn't get quite as carried away in the... And you can see I'm using, sometimes I use the point of the brush and sometimes I use the side. It gives you some different looks. Don't be afraid to experiment a little bit. Add a little bit of red into that, into the quinacridone red, into the mix, and get some of this color in here. I like this red. I was looking up pumpkins today, and I looked up blue pumpkins because I thought, oh, I'll see what I can see out there. And you should see the varieties of blue pumpkins. There's a billion of them out there. Go and have a look. It's quite interesting. I'm going to scoop that up a little bit. This is my version of having a paper towel. I should have. There, that's a little better. So now those are our two little pumpkins. This is just one way of doing it, but I thought I'd show you this one. I want a little bit of red in there too. In here, get some of this red down in here. Kind of what might be shadowy. Oh, that's so pretty. And look at this, wants to sneak out here because I went and got a little carried away. So I'll see if I can bring it up again. Now, the little stems, you can get a green, gold, a greeny brown. Olive is another really good color. I like olive. You can use some browns in there. The stems, they just sort of go all, I just fake it, that's all. So this is an olive. I quite like this color. And to get it too dark, just get in there with your brush, the tip, and just pull some of it out. And let's see, what if I added a bit of the orange in there to make it change a little bit of brown. There we go. Oh, I like that. And what's this color? This is burnt sienna. Try and find a brush that's clean. Got to get a bit of water on here. I'm going to do that. If it's possible, when you put your water on, try and follow the lines. Like when I was doing the pumpkin, I was going like this and like this in the shape of the pumpkin. The same with this. Same with the stem, or pretty much anything you make. There, added a little bit of burnt umber in there too. I like that. That's interesting. Very interesting. There, don't need to do any more than that. I like it. Now the leaves, I'm going to put some leaves on. I just want to mix some greens. So I already have sort of a mix. I generally just leave this because I'm always looking for a green. And sometimes I add different colors to it, see what will happen. Let's add some of the Hansa yellow because that's what I've got in my orange. And that makes a nice, because I generally use the same colors all the time, I'm not afraid of leaving this here because there's bound to be some color in it. So I'll put a little bit more of this dark in there because that's interesting. And maybe a little bit of that. See, that's so bright, hey? So now, this is just going to be a little bit crazy. So I'm just going to take the tip of my brush and I'm just going to kind of go in some circles, in squiggles, and then I'm going to go like this. You see, I'm not really making any kind of effort at drawing in the leaf, okay? I'm just adding, how about this? Oh, look, there's a whole leaf right there. We'll just make him a leaf. And we'll just take this out. We'll add a few more leaves down here because we can in green and some of my bright colors. And then let's add some sprinkles in. Sometimes I get a little carried away, but it's fun, right? It's just fun. So look at the green mixed in here quite nicely, actually. I quite like that. Like that one. Now let's see, if I was to take got it wet, that's okay. So better to wait for this to dry, but that's okay. We can just do this. And what you have is a pumpkin. So once this has dried, oh, I got a great big giant spider. Ah, kill the spider. Yuck. Ugh. I think I got him. Where did my brush go? Here we go. So I'm going to take some of this red again, quinacridone red. This is kind of dried, so I'm going to just go like this, just to clean my brush, and then because I don't want it to go everywhere. That's not. Let's see, we'll make some in here. Dry my brush and then just grab the edges of it so it's dry the brush and then bring the dry brush along the edges so that just spreads. And it's just going to create some shadow in here. I could even add, what about a bit of the blue maybe? Ooh, look at that. Now this is still a little bit wet, so this is going to spread a little bit. Just creating some shadows. I kind of like that. It's interesting. And I don't mind this one. I think that's okay. I don't know if the red would make a good one in here or not. If that would make a shadow or if it just would look weird. Let's put some blue over that. See, red and green are opposites, so what happens is it complements and makes shadows. So I'm just taking a little bit of that wild green that I had and adding it in, and you can see that's created the shadow that I was looking for. There. Oh, I like that. And the other thing you can do is I've got the leaves here, but you can also add a bit of the color in at the bottom, so you've got your, I always call it grounding my, like it's a reflection, because I don't like it when they're sort of sitting in the middle of nowhere, floating as it were. So there it is. That's the lesson. So there, and it's easy to do. And then once you're finished, and once this is dried, you can add your lines in again. Just a few darker ones. Don't be afraid to experiment with that either. There. And don't forget to sign your work. Always sign your work. I hope you enjoyed that. If you got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. And maybe we can paint again soon. If you can think of something exciting, maybe give me some ideas. I'll see what I can do. All right, thanks for coming along.